Hello, this is another video in what is now becoming a series of videos I'm making on the subject of VST loopers, and in particular this looper, Melda Productions MSuperLooper, which I got hold of recently and have been sort of playing around with for a few weeks, trying to integrate it into my recording, looping, live setup. In this video I'm just going to try and detail a specific instance where I've got a bit stuck and contrast that with my previous looper, which was Mobius Looper, which is also a great bit of software, and see if I can work out, or if I can get any help from out there on the internet on perhaps how to crack this particular problem. So what I'm doing at the moment, if you've watched any of my previous videos, I've got Melda MSuperLooper set up here, and I'm using it the multi-output version. So I'm sending one completely dry guitar signal in through my audio interface, routing that to 3 tracks in the looper, which go out to 3 tracks in Reaper, and they have different guitar effects, different tones and things on them. And then I'm using it in sync mode, so it syncs to the transport of Reaper, and I'm using default bars, which means that I can set a default bars of 4. I can hit one pedal on my MIDI foot pedal on the floor here, and it will record for 4 bars and then stop recording and start playing back. So I don't have to mark start points and end points of the loops. I can just press it once, it records for that amount of time and then starts playing back, which is what I want. I've also used these multi-parameters to set that pedal to record, do that auto record, and then automatically go on to the next track, which is also very useful because it cuts down on the amount of different pedals I need to press during any particular song. Now, where I've got stuck is with the fact that default bars, that seems to apply across all tracks. So if I've got default bars set to, for example, and I'm using this multi-parameters to switch between tracks as I record, I can't find a way, and I might be using this software wrong, but I can't find a way to then set different lengths of track or different loops, different lengths of loop on each track. So I couldn't, for example, do a 4-bar loop on this track and then do a 2-bar loop on this track and then a 4-bar loop on this track. The only way to do that would be to turn default bars off, and then I'd be stuck setting the start and end points of the loops with separate button presses, which I don't want to do. Again, I might be misunderstanding how this works, but I just can't see a way to work without having to set an endpoint on the loop, and still be able to use different lengths of bar in the software. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to contrast that with Mobius Looper. So I've got another project set up here. So this is my old setup. Mobius Looper. The reason I don't want to use this anymore is because it's essentially abandonware. I don't think it's been updated for 7-8 years. It only exists in a 32-bit version, and all modern software 64-bit. So obviously in Reaper I'm having to bridge it. Miraculously it still works. There's a few bugs. The interface goes a bit wild sometimes and things disappear. It does crash sometimes, but for the most part it seems to work. And it is just really, really flexible. It's really hard to use. It's taken me all day to work out how I set up this particular song. But I'm gonna show you how this song is set up, and then play a little sort of performance through at the end, so you can see how the functions of Mobius are really useful and how you can do some cool things with them, and how MSuperLooper perhaps isn't quite there yet in terms of all the things you can do with looping. So on this particular song, this is a song called Feckless, which I've been playing live for a few years. So it's a very similar setup. I've got one dry guitar going in, and then I've got, on these 4 tracks, I've got different guitar sounds coming out onto different tracks in Reaper. So I'll just demonstrate those very quickly. So on this heavy guitar, L for left, we've just got this sort of tone, where I just play sort of a scratchy, bendy riff. On track 2, there's a sort of more warm tone with more distortion coming out of the right speaker. This is my main guitar, and this has a bass, delay there, and triggers off the bottom 2 strings. And I'm doing that with jam origin MIDI guitar. So the guitar signal goes in and triggers the bass synth. And there's also obviously guitar sound on that, so I can do it. So it's sort of that's where the main riff for the song comes from. And then on this one, there's a sort of spacey tone, which I do some overdubs with. So on this particular song, I have got different lengths of bar, and I have got them working just off one pedal, doing a record and next function. So these first two tracks just record for 2 bars, and this third track records for 16 bars. And I will just talk through how that works. Again, it's very complicated, so yeah, bear with me. If I just right click on here and load up the configuration for the MIDI control, you'll see that D#1, which is pedal 1 on my foot pedal, runs a script, and that script is called auto record and next. And if I load that script, I've got it loaded up here, you can see all it's doing is auto record, wait 10 milliseconds, next track. Auto record is a function within Mobius that works very similar to what I was just talking about in MSuperLooper. It records for a specified number of bars, stops recording, and then starts playing back the loop. The difference here is that you can specify different loop lengths per track, which is exactly what I need to play this song. So yeah, that script, it will do the auto record. There's that 10 millisecond wait just so that you don't trigger both functions at the same time. You only need a tiny bit of a wait because it will wait until it's done the auto record, and then it will do the next track. So next track doesn't get triggered until you finish that recording, and then it jumps over to the next track. And that is fantastic because that is exactly how I want it to work. And in terms of setting the different bars for these tracks, you'll see that when I click on heavy guitar 1 and 2, there's a preset here named Feckless. And then on the main guitar, that Feckless changes to Feckless 2. So it's loading a different preset on each track. And these presets, if you go into the configuration again, you can see Feckless on the record tab, auto record bars 2, Feckless 2, auto record bars 16. So that means these 2 tracks that have that first preset loaded on them will record for 2 bars, and this for 16. And that is just brilliant because it means pedal 1, I can press pedal 1, record onto track 1 for 2 bars, jumps onto track 2, press it again, record for 2 bars, jumps onto track 3, press it again, record for 16 bars, and then I can just go onto my final track where I just overdub some parts. And the reason I love that is because it frees up all these other pedals for other things, and they are required in this song. I don't tend to use the top row when I'm looping. Those are for sort of global Reaper parameters. So 6 is play, 7 is stop, 8 is next song. I have them all loaded up in tabs in Reaper. 0 is reset, it just resets the entire looper. 9 is free at the moment, but I might attach other things to that pedal, but I prefer to use this first row because it's just easier to get to when you're sort of playing guitar and singing. You're less likely to make an error as opposed to stepping on the back row where you can easily step on both pedals and just mess up the whole song. So in this particular tune, 1 is my auto record and next, 2 will mute the first 2 tracks at various points in the song, 5 will mute the main guitar riff, the 16 bar long riff, and then 3 and 4 do these great functions called multiply on 4 and replace on 3. And these are also functions that don't yet exist in MSuperLooper. I'm hoping the developer might add these kind of things in the future. So on pedal 3, the replace button, it replaces whatever's in a specified loop, in this case loop 1, with whatever you're playing on the guitar for however long you hold down the key. So that sounds really, really confusing, but I'll talk it through when I play the song. And similarly, pedal 4 will multiply track 2, which has got the heavy guitar right on it. So as long as I hold that down 4, it actually truncates the length of the loop by that amount of time. So it will start looping through quicker. So I think what I'll do now is I'll just demonstrate that with a song. I recorded this earlier, so I'm just going to load up a video of it and ruin that performance by talking over the top of it, explaining what's happening at any point. So this is the video from earlier today. You can't see me now because I'm off camera, so that's me from earlier. And I'm just going to set this playing through and talk over so we can see what's happening at each specific point in the song and how that is affecting the song. So here goes. So pedal 1. And that records the 2-bar loop into track 1. Automatically jumps to track 2. Hit pedal 1 again and start recording again. So I've got these 2 stereo loops going now. Pedal 2 to mute. And now I'm playing on track 3. So hit pedal 1 again. And now I'm recording the 16-bar long main loop that makes up the main part of this track. So in a sec, I'll hit pedal 2 again, and that will bring those 2 first loops back in sync. So now all the loops have been laid down. It's jumped over to track 4, and I'm overdubbing with this sort of spacey sound. Mute 1 and 2. And on this round is where I do the different functions. So I've held down pedal 4, and the guitar on the right is now looping quicker. And now I'm tapping pedal 3 and replacing into loop 1 with this fast picking part that I'm playing. And you'll hear the results of that in a sec when everything drops out. So I've muted the main part now. Drums disappear, and we're just left with those 2 weird loops. Making that one shorter with pedal 4. And now just glitching out, tapping the pedals at random, playing random notes. This bit's quite fun to play live. And you can see the muted blue on the main guitar is still going. So I'll bring that in a sec. And we're back. And now mute the craziness. And mute the main part. And end with some random craziness. So yeah, that's the song. Hope you enjoyed that. Just a quick demonstration of what you can do with some of these cool features in MSuperLooper. The ability to record different lengths of loop into different tracks using the auto record function, and you know the multiply and replace features that just allows you to do loads of glitchy, cool, mad sounding stuff. And yeah, it would be really cool if some of those features found their way into MSuperLooper at some point in the future, because that's a bit of software that's being developed and Mobius isn't, and at some point I think it's going to stop working. So yeah, that's the end of this video. Goodbye again.